Welcome to Faraya Cancer Support Trust and the exchange of knowledge with partners of Moving Cultures Kenya 2022. We are honored to have all of you around the world and all our friends in Nairobi celebrating unity and diversity. And when we talk about unity and diversity, it's not only a theoretical concept. We are talking about dynamics, and we're talking about activities that represent in a material way what unity and diversity is about. Look at the community that is in this room at the moment. Yeah, we have people from Latin America, we have Indian descendants, we have Europeans, and we have Africans and the States. So this is what Moving Cultures is about. Getting into a space where you can find everybody. Yeah? And you will have the opportunity to exchange a couple words or only look at the person and you will see yourself reflected in the other side. I'm here with Fezi. Fezi, please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Fezi Mauncho and I live in Nairobi. I am a part of Moving Culture since I think Moving Culture has been in Kenya. And we are at Faraja Cancer Support Center where all of us have done all sorts of different kinds of work. And yeah, that's who I am. I work with kids, I work in education, I work in music and the arts, which actually Moving Cultures is all about. Moving Cultures is about all the different aspects of the arts. And I use the arts in education, and it's really awesome to be in here with quite a number of artists, incredible people that you're going to talk to and engage with this afternoon.
Fezi, could you please tell our audience, everyone present here and the ones on the other side of the camera, what is the name of your project? And also the importance of homeschooling, because you're one of the pioneers in homeschooling in this country.
Yes, well, maybe I found some others who have been here ahead of me, but then we established a project, well, I wouldn't call it a project, an organization called Kitovu Learning Space, where we use the arts to strengthen what homeschool students are doing at home. So they're learning chemistry at home, they're doing English, mathematics, all aspects of their education. When they come to us, they participate in what we call co-curricular activities. Other people will call them extracurricular. We call them co-curricular because we say what they are doing with us in the arts supports what they do at home. It affects their psyche, it affects their creativity, it affects their critical thinking. So we work with students, we combine art and math and biology in something like, maybe if you don't know what this is, go and look it up, biomimicry, looking at nature and seeing how you can combine science, nature, and art to come up with solutions to the problems that we face on the planet across every dimension. We work with students in music, and we combine music and storytelling, and our focus is the African instruments that we have in Kenya, but we use those African instruments to tell our story as a global community. So we think it's important that we are Africans, but we share that African story with the rest of the world. Interesting, one time we were doing a project with Wani, Kilimani Street Festival, and there was a couple of young girls singing with us, and we were singing a song from Korea. And guess what? There was 3 people that walked by in the audience, and they heard us singing in Korea, and you should have seen their faces. And you should have seen the girls. They stopped singing. They started giggling in the middle of the song because they were enjoying the interaction that they were having with the Koreans as we sang along. So, you know, things like that. We do engineering. Kids will make experiments, and, you know. So we work with young kids between 5 and 18 years of age. We had to close down because of COVID, because our work is very in each other's faces. And you can imagine what would happen if you put a bunch of kids together. And so we're just working on reopening, expanding, and doing it better than we did before.
Fezi, thank you. And before we continue giving remarks and points that are related to your project, let's start with the blessings. Can you please all stand up? I'm going to do first the Gayatri mantra in Sanskrit, you know, for all of us to do a connection. And after that, I'm going to do what is called a Yoruba invocation. You know, there is a combination of Latin American culture with African culture. And Fezi will continue with an African invocation in Yoruba. Yeah. So, please close your eyes. Om Bu swaha tatsavitu varenyam varego devasya dhimahi diyo yonaha prachodaya Om Bhurvhuva Swaha Tatsavitu Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yonaha Prachodaya Om Bhurvhuva Swaha Tatsavitu Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yonaha Prachodaya Om Shanti Om Shanti Om Shanti Om Barasuhayo Monia la wana mama Kenya irawoe Barasuhayo Monia la wana mama Kenya irawoe Oktarasuayo Ewe Chogutana Monia la wana mama Kenya irawoe Barasuhayo bringing light and peace today Barasuhayo is the one who brings us peace Barasuhayo is the one that bless you way Barasuhayo is the one with all of us.
Ahom, hom, ahom, ahom, hom. Bayete, bayete, uingonya maya wajuda, uinhlobo yebandla, ualfano omega, isiqalo nesiphetho. Bayete, bayete, uingonya maya wajuda, uinhlobo yebandla, ualfano omega, isiqalo nesiphetho. Ahom, ahom, hom, ahom, ahom, hom, ahom, ahom, hom, na.
Thank you, Cassie. Now you can return to your side. Lucrecia, would you please come here and be welcome to give us the Christian blessings? Yeah, you can do the Spanish or in English.
Okay, so we say a bit in English y a bit in Spanish. So, empezamos esta reunión compartiendo la vida y sobre todo el don de la diversidad, con los diferentes colores, con las diferentes formas en las que Dios nos ayuda y le pedimos a Él a través de su Espíritu Santo que se manifieste con nosotros, que da the light of Him, the light of His Son can be with us, giving us the peace and especially the joy to live and to realize how blessed are we with the gift of life. Amen.
Thank you, Lucrecia. And now we can sit down, now that we practically are blessed, not only the space, but we have been blessed personally and actually collectively. I see here is our host, Cindy Ogana. So now I'm going to give the space to Cindy so she can give the opening remarks and talk to us a little bit about Faraya.
Cindy with the good hair.
You know it. Please get close to the camera so you can also talk to our friends who are looking at us.
Hi, my name is Cindy from Faraja Cancer Support.
want to thank you so much for being here today at our space personally. I want to apologize for coming in late. You don't know that, but I want to be accountable.
Now they know.
We're having a bit of road construction here in Kenya, and I just happened to use the road that was blocked. So diversions from 12 noon. I wish I came in when you guys were sort of being, centered, but I can feel the positive energy already. Thank you so much. Faraja is a charity that offers free support services to cancer patients and their caregivers. Wani is a Goodwill ambassador. She has supported us through our music and dance therapy, not only in this space that we're gathering in, but with our program with the children at Kenyatta National Hospital. So thank you so much, Wani, in Moving Cultures. Whenever we have social media activations like our 5 for 5 challenge or what we do for breast cancer awareness, Wani and in Moving Cultures always come through, and we are really, really appreciate their support. So thank you so much to all the friends of Wani who have partnered with us. Some of you I don't know personally, but I see your posts. Thank you so much. Asante sana. And of course to each and every one of you, karibuni. Thank you.
Thank you.
As Cindy mentioned it, all the activities we do have to do with the collective. So all of you have made possible also to have this beautiful terrace over there. Thanks to the Still Lovers 2 years continued campaign, when Moving Culture have reached 500 images with your photos, and we managed to reach $10,000 and $5,000 each year. And thanks to each one of you, and the money was coming straight to Faraya from the Still Lovers. So all our friends who are actually connected now, who are part of this campaign, thank you. And we are saying thank you from Kenya, because you always are present, and doesn't matter where in the world, saying yes without knowing where is this money going to. They say that we're getting $10 for each photo. So this is the place. And there is a beautiful terrace that we will take photos so you can see where money has been allocated. So trust us, the way we trust your capacity to love others. So now I'm going to, we're going to welcome our first speaker of the afternoon. As you know, we are having an exchange of knowledge with very exciting people. Some of them will be parade, giving us a 7-minute talk. But I'm also going to take the opportunity, like we did with Fessy, to hear the story of some of the other members who are here. And that first member who's going to come forward before we have the presentation of our guest is Gayatri. Gayatri, please come forward and very quickly let the people know. Stand here and let the people know who you are and what you do.
Hi everyone. Hi. My name is Charity Nduta Kyarye. Kyarye is my surname, so I use the surname because it has a very huge meaning. It means something big and wide. So on Facebook, on Instagram, you can find me, Kyarye Africa. And the reason why I'm here is because me and Wani met still on Facebook and became very good friends when my daughter was about 2 years old. And what I do is that I have tried to motivate the African woman mostly to be comfortable in her own skin, to be comfortable in her own roots. And so I try to do that using fashion and style. I mean, don't I look very beautiful today? Yes, I love to look like this. I look like this. And on, outside there, the table there, that's my creation. And I want the African woman and the black woman to appreciate who they are, and not just the African woman and the black woman, but women all over the world. So I decided, why don't I just take this opportunity and create a movement so that when a little girl outside there, whether in Kibera or in town, when they see me, they're like, oh, so it is okay to be black and beautiful. So it is okay to dress in your, in your bold dresses, in your bold earrings. It's very okay to do that. And not just that, knowing yourself and knowing your roots, because it's very important to know your roots. Because if you don't know your roots, then you're also not going to know your future. So I decided to do that, and Wani has been with me. We've had an interview with her via Zoom, and I'm so grateful to be here. And thank you so much, Wani, for what you're doing. And for everyone outside here, today. Thank you so much. And when you get a chance, please visit my table. You might get a gift, 1 or 2. You might buy your wife or your girlfriend or your daughter something. So thank you so much, and I'm so happy to be here. Nedayo.
Thank you, Gary. Our first key speaker of this afternoon and exchange of knowledge is Maddie Dalal. She's from Kenya. She is the CEO of PADMAT, raising awareness and eliminating period poverty in Kenya. And she is also the owner of a social enterprise that produces reusable sanitary pads. So let's welcome Maddie Dalal.
Thank you, Wadi. I'm Maddie, I'm from PADMAT. And it's so good. Only Wani can bring us all together. Even we live in 254, only Wani from Thailand can bring us here. So thank you, Wani. Before I begin, just to publicly say that the reason why I am where I am is possibly only because of Wani and the support and her push, because of her encouragement. I was just telling the story earlier today. There was a point when I moved to Kenya and I was a bit lost, and I was speaking to Wani, and she just told me in simple words, Madvi, stop complaining, do something about it. And so that kind of got me going. So now we have a social enterprise called PADMAT. We started off with an idealistic view to help girls, because I kind of tried to understand what period poverty really meant in Kenya. Why do we have period poverty? What does it look like? How bad is it? Who suffers from it? And how do we define it? So I traveled a little bit through Kenya trying to figure out all these answers by myself. And I was documenting in a place here in one of the slums in Nairobi. And we were just asking all the girls, how do you find this? What's going on?
Continue.
Yes. So, for me? Yes. Too much? Okay, so I was asking one of the girls, we had some girls prepared for all the interviews. I was asking one of the girls, so where do you get your pads from? And she said, here. So I said, no, I don't think you get it from here, because we give you unga and all these things. I don't think the orphanage can actually afford sanitary towels. And because she was speaking Kiswahili and I wanted to make sure this is authentic and is good for documentation, I told her, okay, walk me through this. And it was really humble orphanage, and she walked me through it, trying to make me understand that she used to give sexual favors to one of the teachers there. And not only was she giving sexual favors, she ended the conversation saying that depending on the quality of sex, she'd get 1 or 2 pads. So I remember how I felt when I heard that story, but she goes through it month on month. And that's when I thought, well, something needs to be done here. What I did know was I didn't really want to hand out disposable pads, only because of the environmental issue, logistic issue, and many other things like rashes, etc. So we started a project where we started training girls and boys in schools. I used to go with cotton thread with my family, with my friends, hoping they'd make enough for themselves and for their parents, for their mums. That didn't really work out well. So then I started training the mums in the communities to say, okay, go and make these and make your own cooperative or your enterprise. Unfortunately, that didn't really work either, although it was a lot of energy, because we were very concerned about the quality and the resources that they were ending up using. So because I come from a science background, I was very sure that I didn't want to end up with a bigger problem than we first started with. So now what we do is we have now a final project, which is where we empower marginalized women. So by marginalized, I mean HIV positive, widows. Now we work with clients in prisons, abused women, who actually make these pads. The key of what we do, we work with pillars on education, so obviously allowing and making sure girls can carry on going to school, but also educating boys and bringing communities together to be able to talk about this subject quite openly in a safe space. The other thing is what we do is empower women who are not usually employed to be employed and to become financially stable by themselves. Environment is a big thing that we work on because disposable pads, one disposable pad takes 500 to 800 years to decompose. In Samburu, the girls put their disposable pads down the anthills. In Kibera, they put them they're called flying pads, they just fling them and it lands on somebody's head or somebody's front door. Yeah, there's no garbage collection exactly. Or they put down the pit latrines in school, which clogs the whole wash system. So environment is a big thing. Our pads are biodegradable. The other one is economic. Obviously, they're longer lasting. They last longer than 5 years. So that we're trying to ensure that once we visit a community, we don't actually have to go back. The girl can go to secondary and tertiary education without much, going to ask for money within their parents or their social systems to just get pads. And the last one is health. We try and stick to eco-friendly, without toxins. Disposable pads have something called dioxin, which sometimes causes rash or cramps. So we're trying to keep it very healthy. So now we have a product. Well, we have a few products which we give out with the education on menstrual health management and also SRHR. And that's what we do.
Thank you very much, Maddie.
This is the kit. This is what we've developed.
Please, can you show it to
Yeah.
So what's in it? You want to open it? On the meantime, while Maddie is giving us a show of the product, we're going to welcome the guests who just arrived. We have Faith here. She's a nurse. And she was one of my classmates at the German school at the Goethe Institute. And she has been very strongly connected to the community, especially during COVID time. She was one of our champions in the hospital. So please a big round of applause for Faith. Then we have our dear friend Amy Mckelvey. She is the principal of Woodland Star School. There is an international school with very strong academic, creative art curriculum and inclusion patterns. And I'm going to ask very quickly to Amy to come here just to introduce the school, please.
I leave you with the live audience also.
Hello everyone, I feel so honored to be here. I would love to hear all of your stories. I know that you're doing amazing work. And I would just like to say that I'm so thankful to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And I feel that I'm among greats. So I'd like to just say that Woodland Star is a school that was started 10 years ago. And with the idea that there should be a different way of education that's more life-affirming, that's more inclusive, that is child-centered, that is active, that considers that each person is valuable and has gifts and hidden potential. So we have started our school and we've been here 10 years. We're very inclusive. We were really the first international school to accept children with significant learning, processing delays or needs, intervention needs. We do have a very strong association with the arts because we believe that the arts are what make us human, and that is how we met Lonnie and Roland, and with a partnership there to bring in more exposure, more learning, more life-affirming experience with the arts. We're also very hands-on, very sustainable, so we are located on a campus in Tigoni, and we're in the middle of a botanic garden and forest. And I see some other people that I recognize. Fezzi. Fezzi's students have performed with us, and we are grateful. And we hope for more partnership with other people who are working towards the same aims of life affirmation, equality, inclusiveness, the arts, and hands-on experiences for children. Thank you.
Amy, please talk about Brackenhurst, because there is a lot of people here who usually requires spaces for conferences.
We're on the conference, we're on the same campus as a center named Brackenhurst. And Brackenhurst is a very interesting place. It's an old place. But should you visit, you would be struck with the nature and the natural surroundings. It's a very accommodating place because we have accommodations and also food. But it's part of sustainability. What I mean is we're over 20 years into a longitudinal study to reclaim degraded land and to replant what was there before. And so the bird population on the campus has grown from around 30 species to now almost 200 bird species. Because animals have come back to where they belong. Because now the environment has been reforested with what should have never been taken away. So that's a little bit about Brackenhurst, and welcome.
Thank you, Gayatri. And now we are going to have a brief introduction of Okamar Onesimus, who is a visual artist. Okamar, before we go to our next guest.
Hi everyone. Hello. I'm so grateful to meet with all of you, and it's an honor to be here today. And my journey as an artist, I think, is another level that I cannot explain everything about it, because my uncle is one of also the greatest Kenyan visual artists, Peter Inga, for those who know him. So, I learned about painting through him. I could see his paintings, and every time I could see his paintings, I was feeling like, I feel these women can speak to me something that they always speak through each and every painting that my uncle paints. And after some time, I started playing with paint, and I was so young. So by the time I was around 12 years or 14, I could paint an artwork and speak something about it. And I'm so grateful about that. And in my journey, I paint women. And this just came naturally, I don't know why. And these women are always speaking, and through maybe their visual structures, you can see they are facing somewhere, or they discuss. I have some other photos of some other paintings that I may show some of you that may be interested. And whenever I paint one woman, she's always contemplating about something, and she's like trying to figure something out. And that one woman that I'm talking about is this one here. And in this, I titled the painting Prospects of the Calm. Like, I realized you cannot come out of something with...
Recording in progress.
You cannot come out of something when you are successful if you are not calm when you are thinking about that thing. So, that's why this lady here is looking towards something that's, it's like light is starting to emanate from this side, which to me is like she's getting now the salvation or whatever she was looking for. And when I paint two, it's more a secret. Somebody is trying to reach out to the other to get a certain solution to whatever they're going on. And in all the paintings, I think those women are always focused. I don't know, maybe they may not be focused, but to me, when I paint them knowing they're focused. Yes. Yeah. So, and the focus to me is like when you want to solve something for yourself, are you focused that you're going to get a solution, or you're just working on it, not having that focus and that belief deep inside that you're going to find a solution. And yes, that's what I can say. And maybe to add on that, I don't know, a human being soul, is it feminine or is it masculine? Or masculine.
It's just a soul. It is just a soul.
It's just a soul.
Sexless.
It's sexless. Yes. But now, my stories, I try to find out who is this woman that always appears in each and every painting. And the structure of her face is always similar. And I never intend to make her be that single woman in each and every painting. And I realized it could be myself in a feminine structure trying to speak my story. And using women, I realized women associate very fast, just like kids. I'm sorry to say kids, but that is one thing that I realized. And having them in the center of spreading information makes that information reach a wider audience very fast. And that's part of what I can say today. I'm happy meeting with you and learning about moving cultures, and I'm continuing to learn more and more each and every day. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Samar. As you can see, when we're talking about culture and when we're talking about connections, we talk about authenticity. You know, and this is what makes the difference. That we can feel we are at home. Because what is home? Like Okamar say, our soul. You know, when this soul leaves the body, what is there? Nothing. Yeah? So when we die, we're practically letting our soul go away. When we are alive, our soul is guiding us. Our soul is allowing us to understand what is greater than us and what is greater than the things we can touch and the things that we believe they are important. And I think COVID has taught us that we are very vulnerable, like a piece of glass, isn't it? Yes. I think that was a big lesson for all of us. And to actually talk about this and to introduce the Alzheimer and Dementia Organization, I'm introducing Elizabeth Mckelvey.
Hi everybody. Hi. It's a nice forum to be. When Wani started talking about COVID, I went back to where I was. But before that, when I met Wani, I had just lost my job. And I was trying to figure myself out. I didn't know what to do. I had been in corporate for many years, but I was lost. And so I used to come and offer my services. I'm a trained counseling psychologist, and I'd come and offer my services at Faraja. And so one day I met Wani. And so I just felt attracted to her, and I was like, you know what, I need to speak to you. I don't know what to do with myself. And somebody said, you should stop complaining. So I told me, I don't find your niche, find out who you are. And so my dad had dementia for close to 17 years. He got sick when I was a teenager. And we did not understand what it was. And for a very long time, I struggled to understand what it is. And I was like, you know what, why don't I start an organization to help somebody else understand what I have been through, so that it doesn't take them 15 years to get a diagnosis like I did, or like our family did. And so that is what I did. And we started an organization called the Alzheimer's and Dementia Organization Kenya, and we are helping caregivers understand what is dementia. And we have realized a lot of them, when they are coming to us, because of the stigma associated with it, and then so many myths around it, and also not being able to vocalize or say, this is what my loved one is going through. We want to hide our loved ones and not speak about it. So we are trying to be the voice that is standing out there and telling the government, hey, you need to do something about it. And when we started, it was very difficult because nobody would listen to us, nobody would even give us an opportunity to, even a forum to speak about dementia. But we persisted, and now we are glad to say that at least in Kenya, we are at the stage where we are working on the dementia plan with the Ministry of Health. And that is a plus. Because we have come so far. It has taken, do we call it blood, sweat, and everything to be where we are. And also, like what he said, in 2020, we had run support groups for people living with dementia for all this time. But we realized now we had to stop because of COVID. And then now we stopped, and then guess what? I get COVID, and I get really sick. 95% of my lungs were eaten up by COVID. I only had 5% lucky. And I was in hospital for a long time, and it took a lot of prayers. And let me tell you, when you do something good to people, it comes back. Because the people who I helped, I actually, according to the doctor, he says I actually was resuscitated. And it's because of the prayers of these people. One of the people told me, you couldn't die. You hadn't finished your work with us. You hadn't trained us properly. You needed to be back. And so when you do good things to people, and I'm glad about what one you do, and bringing everybody together. Every time somebody walks in, you see a smile on one of their faces because they recognize somebody else they have worked with. So thank you for the platform. We are still training caregivers. We're still trying to make sure that people understand what dementia is. We are moving from Nairobi because our work has been based so much in Nairobi. And so we are trying now to reach out to the other counties. And now one of the good things that we've actually noticed is that people are not coming to us when they're in the middle stage or late stage of the disease. People are coming much earlier, and so we are able to give more guidance. We are able to tell people what to do early enough, put your affairs in order before the disease just takes you down the hill. So thank you very much. I hope I have spoken much about it. When I look at you, you understand what dementia is, so I don't need to go into the nitty-gritties of it, just to say, this is what we do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Before we continue with the following guests, we're going to invite Nitasha, who is also one of our partners and members, to talk about the work she's doing with different projects and organizations.
Hi everybody. Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be here with such wonderful people. And I can say my journey started here from Faraja. I am a volunteer here at Faraja. I do some nutritional therapy with the cancer patients here. And it is in Faraja that I met lovely Vani. And she has been a source of inspiration since then. And at Faraja, so what we do here is we are giving a lot of emotional support, a lot of physical support, a lot of things like yoga, Reiki, nutrition care, personal counseling, body talks. So all this that Faraja is doing is really helping a lot of people, and I'm very, very happy and honored to be a part of Faraja. Besides Faraja, there is a school that I've been supporting. And that school, if you have heard of it, is called the Tum Shangiliani. Tum Shangiliani Toto is a school that supports the street children. And it was started by an actress called Anne Manjubu. She's a late actress now. In the year 1994, she started this Shangiliani, and now it has been running by this German funding. And even Shangiliani is trying to become self-independent and self-sufficient to help the street children and children from the local communities who probably cannot afford to have education. So they are getting a means of education through Shangiliani, and there are different projects that they do. They have things like skateboard, where they try to bring people from different communities together so that the bridge between the people is reduced. And more people try to get in there. They're doing some ecological farming. They're trying to do conserve water there. And they're trying to help the community in as much ways as possible. And I'm really glad that I'm trying to contribute whatever little is possible through me. And thank you, Wani, for allowing me to give this opportunity to talk about Shangilia.
Now we are welcoming our next guest, who is one of the administrators of the Kobo Trust Foundation, Elizabeth Mutunya.
Hi everyone. I'm happy to be here and I'm happy to meet everyone. My name is Elizabeth. I'm from the Kobo Trust. The Kobo Trust by definition is a humanitarian organization, but in essence the Kobo Trust is a mother, a father, a sister, a brother to many. By that I mean the Kobo Trust supports beneficiaries who are vulnerable kids from the slums. It started in 2009, and it was supporting some orphans in the slums of Sinai. Sinai slums it's an informal settlement in the eastlands of Nairobi. So when it started, it was supporting over 500 kids who are orphans with education and nutrition. But then with time, some reintegration was done, and some were connected with their families. Then at the end, there are a group of kids who didn't have a relative completely, and that's when Kobo Trust introduced another program of shelter, providing shelter to these kids. So now the Kobo Trust builds on 4 values of love, unity, resilience, and empowerment. By love, I mean these kids were deprived of love. They lacked parental love, they lacked sibling love. So Kobo Trust brings that aspect of a family, whereby these kids are put together and they live as a family. And the administrators, who are now we call them the mentors, they give them the love that they were deprived when they were young. Then unity, you know that for any impact to be created, the key players have to be united. So Kobo Trust brings together many key players, and it uses art, and that's how we met Wani, and so many other artists like Onesmus and his uncle. So Kobo Trust brings together key players so that it can create the intended impact. Then resilience, you know that for these kids, they are going to grow to become youth. And for the impact to be successful, the community has to be ready for them, and they also have to be ready for the community. So these kids are empowered with skills to be prepared for the community. And then we also had a program that is now stopped because of COVID, whereby we used to empower the communities to also be ready for these empowered kids. Then we have empowerment. These kids are empowered with different skills. When they are on holiday, they have learned so much. We have our sponsor, the main sponsor is the Kobo Safaris. So these kids, during the holidays, we have what we call the Learning by Doing program. So in this Learning by Doing program, these kids they are attached to different departments, which is usually rotational. So we have sales departments, we have operations departments, accounting departments. So the kids are attached to these departments, and it's usually rotational. So by the time the kid goes to all the departments, they have also found their career. And this has been very successful because now we have 11 youths, 4 have graduated from the university, and now they are working with the Kobo Safaris and that's where they created their career path. So that's where they created their career path because during the Learning by Doing, someone along the way found their career there. So after high school, they studied, the particular career that they chose, and then they were able to get jobs in the Kobo safaris. So that is one of our success stories. Then I don't know, Wani, if you are able to recognize Florence. You met Florence when she was very young. She was studying at Magoso, but now she's all grown. She's a candidate in her final year of secondary school, so wish her well. Florence. Yeah, so art has also been a part of our success because now we have a shop which is a social enterprise. It's called Articraft. You can check it on Instagram. It's called Articraft. So with Articraft, it's a sort of, we have integrated into the environmental conservation. So we use waste products or waste materials like leather and fabrics to create some crafts. So I think Onesmus has some crafts that we have made. There are so many in our shop, so if you ever find some time to walk in the corridors of Kobo, you can come to the Kobo Trust and see our shop. So that's what they do during the holiday. They make different crafts, and we've been able to create some sustainability in terms of funds because we sell and use the money to run our activities. Yeah, so in nutshell, that is the Kobo Trust. And we do so many other things that maybe I cannot explain in one sitting, but you can check us on the website, thekobotrust.com. Thank you so much.
Rose, I think we're going to pass it around. In the meantime, you can show it on the camera. You can show it on the camera. Just get the pieces and put it on the camera.
So this is a baton, a ring baton. So this is just the normal buttons wrapped in a fabric, African fabric, and then you have put a holder. Yeah, so it's them who have made them. She knows how to make them. The other youths know how to make them. Yeah.
So you can post some images.
Yeah, okay, something that I forgot. We also have a group of kids. We have 5 kids who are not with us because we have a shelter. We have 3 shelters. For boys, 1 for boys and 2 for girls. These are mentored apartments where they live. And then the small kids are in, we call them holiday parents. We are so lucky to have a team of African parents, all Kenyan parents, who have taken our kids. And for someone to qualify to be a holiday parent, they have to have a kid who is the same age or just an age mate of our kid. So they take a kid and they give them that family upbringing. Yeah. So when they grow up and now they are transited to high school, that's when they join the mental flats. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And Elizabeth practically was talking about the big brother or big sister program. You know, when the ones who already gone through the learning process and empowerment, they don't do it because they're forced to. They do it because they believe it's important to transfer the knowledge and the experiences. One of the guests that just arrived is Hilarious. He was one of our partners who was previously working with The Nest. There is a prison program who actually recover the trust of the families through accompaniment. So women who are in jail, the kids are looked after at The Nest, and then the organization reunited. Hilarious, you can probably talk to us very quickly about Nest. I know you're not with them anymore, but we need to know about the project. Yeah, very quick. Come here. You can come to the talk to the camera.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Hilary Kipletin Rono, and as Wani, good to see you again, and Roland and the team. So it's been quite a while since we knew each other. But briefly to tell you about The Nest. The Nest is a charitable organization. It deals with the prison program and for those children whom they are in conflict with the law. So basically it's a rehabilitation center whereby the children or the younger mothers are rescued, they are rehabilitated, and then they are integrated back to the society. So it's basically a transitional center. So apparently now my term ended there, but I still visit there teaching the children capoeira, which is one of the projects that now when Wani and Moving Cultures were in Kenya, we were doing it. So currently, I'm an instructor of capoeira under the leadership of Farao. So I've been visiting there, and I'm happy that now the restrictions from Corona was lifted, that now we can regularly visit. So currently I'm going there, but not as a staff member, as a volunteer, as Wani used. And actually, Wani was my role model. I followed the footsteps, and while you are away, I'm still continuing the project. So basically, I think I cannot tell much about the nest, and maybe what I can request you, nest is in Limuru and Runda, and each and every time unakaribishwa kule, and feel free to visit and know what they're doing. So thank you so much, and asante.
Thank you, Hilary. So Hilary was talking about capoeira. There is a Brazilian martial art. And we used to have in our team one of the members from Colombia who was empowering children, women, men, adults, anyone to understand the capacity of their body. You know, how you can move and dance, you know, and connect with the tradition, especially the African tradition who moved to Brazil. So we were talking about eco-friendly fashion, and this is the moment to introduce Henry Wanjala, who is one of the lead founders of the Kenyan Boys Choir, that is very well known in the country, because they have actually traveled abroad delivering a message of peace through music. And he happened also to be very much connected, very much connected with the beauty and style of African fashion. And beside that, with mom, his late mom used to do crochet. And he said, okay, let me get all these crochet pieces of my mother and create a collection. And I have to tell you that that beautiful collection was launched at an event we put together with Elizabeth to support Alzheimer's organization at the Michael Joseph Center. So this is how you continue to see the connections with all the people in the circle. So let's welcome Henry Wanjala.
Thank you so much for me. I will actually just be honest and just say I'm actually in awe of everyone here. I'm actually looking forward to listening to everyone. You know, sorry. Hi everyone. So sorry. All the speakers so far, I'm like, wow. What would I even say? Thank you so much, Wani. Wani has, I don't know. The first time before I met Wani, I just saw emails. I was just seeing emails. I was not around, but I could see emails my team was writing. There's this lady who wants to work with us, she's Spanish, she speaks Spanish, so the communication wasn't clear, but when I flew back to the country, and then we met at Galleria Mall, and that was it. The rest is history. Okay, my name is Henry. Today I just want to share a little bit about myself and my story and my journey. I'm the last of 11 kids. So you can imagine how many, you can imagine, I'm the last of 11 kids. And I am the sixth of the boys. We have 6 boys, 5 girls. Okay? So I was the closest to mom. So mom, first of all, was a soprano singer. So she would always sing. She was a soprano. So we were there singing, and every time she's singing, she was a tailor and a designer. So we're next to the machine. I'm always there with her, and she's making all this, people designing Christmas holiday. She was always busy because people wanted to dress well and look good for Christmas. So I was always there with her. And so I learned, we sang together when she's working. So that was the process of me just falling in love with music. And also one of my late sisters, she was into knitting. So she was using the, so I remember for those who remember Amido Center, you know where you buy the singer machines. So I remember because we had singer machines in the house. So the patterns for sweaters and all these things. So I grew up with that. So I loved being in that creative space because that's how I grew up. So having said that, once upon a time, many years back, I remember when my mom we moved to another area, I can't remember very well, and there was no church choir. So my family was the church choir. My sisters, my brothers, they were the church choir. So because I was so young, I was just seeing them rehearsing and all these things, so I grew up in that. So for me, that is my love for music and my love for fashion as well. So of course, growing up, primary school, doing music festival, doing the singing games, playing the instruments, fast track to high school. Now high school, I fell in love with music because of the harmony. So I joined the school choir. I was in St. Thomas Aquinas. We were known for a lot of singers, opendos, AQs, opendos, and all this, being one of the top Kenyan boys choirs. So that also propelled me to knowing what music is, competing. So I loved competing. So when I finished high school, even before finishing high school, I really wanted to know how we can continue singing. And that's why part of the ones who we graduated now decided to sing together. And that's why we formed the Kenyan Boys Choir. So what happened, we called friends who we met over the years during the competitions. So we said, we have these songs, maybe we can sing some of the songs you sang in high school. So we started that journey together with that. So the journey began, and I remember I was always told, you're in charge of what are we going to wear? What are we going to wear, So I also had to come up with that, what we are going to wear. I know I did drawing and design in school, so I'm the one who designed the logo. I just remember just a pencil, and I designed the logo, and just the journey of just boys who dreamt of singing and continuing being together. So through that, I started singing a lot. And once upon a time, we were singing, there's this song, we started at the National Theatre. So back then, if you came to the National Theatre, we were always on one edge of the National Theatre singing, and everyone was like, these boys. We do some laps, there's a huge tree, so we'd always run before singing. So we sang. So one day we were singing this song, take me out to the ball, take me out with the crowd, buy me some peanuts and cracker jack. So what happens is, the Norfolk Hotel, the Fairmont, used the National Theatre as the parking space. So there were two Americans from the American High Commission, the embassy. They parked the car and they were walking to have lunch. Then they hear this song that in their wildest dreams they would not think it would be sung in Nairobi. So they came to us and asked us, how did we know about this song? Because it was getting there. So through that we were able to be invited for the 4th of July at the American Embassy. And that changed everything, because we were able to perform to different people who we didn't know. So in the crowd, there's somebody who really loved. This is July 4th, but I can tell you, because of that performance, in August we're in Las Vegas. That is how fast everything was. So that's how the journey. So in Vegas, now we started getting return business. In Vegas, we worked with Mikato Safaris, I think one of the top luxurious travel companies. So because it's a Kenyan company, the Pintos, but the headquarters is in New York. So that's how we started the journey, meeting these people from the travel, the virtuosos and all this. It was now this amazing, meeting the Carlsons, who, all this, we started working like that and started traveling the world just because of, I just remember that song. And that is the journey of the Kenyan Boys Choir, and getting to work with so many people across the world. And through this journey, I was the one who was designing every single thing, every single piece that the choir was wearing on stage. So I know I was always in love with fashion. I designed even for my sister's company. During the Nairobi show, they always have this competition. I don't know what they do. They have stars and the president gives them, I don't know what was happening. So I always used to do this. I always used to design, even for schools. So just to fast track, I know I always wanted to design. So I sat one day with Wani. Wani invited me over for lunch. And she had seen what I do. And she said, Henry, you cannot sit in a cocoon. You cannot be just some. You are a fashion designer. You need to step out. And that's what she put. And then I was like, okay, sawa. So I said, okay, sawa. So I had this idea, of course. through my late mom, we had crochets, we had everything that my mom had made. So I asked my big sister to do something about it in memory of mom. So she didn't understand what is wrong with me with taking things and all these things. So I took the crochet, I created these pieces, and I remember I worked with the Kariobangi women, and there was a program that they were doing, and we worked with them and Eliza, and it was an amazing, amazing event. And I remember that was in 2016, and I remember in 2015, just because of dressing up, somebody invited me. I met the president of Eco Fashion Week, originally in Vancouver, but in Seattle, but in Vancouver. So I remember that connection, and through this connection, I was able to connect, and I was invited. I was the only African fashion designer to invite for Eco Fashion Week. So I used the collection. I just changed a couple of things, and I went to showcase this collection of the crochet in Seattle. And that was the journey of me stepping out and just going out there and doing it. And the collection, I called it Paris. That was my mom's name. Aww. So I called it Paris, and I launched that. And through that, everything spiraled, because it was eco-fashion. The United Nations Environment reached out to me. I started working with UNEP from 2017 all through. And through 2017 to 2018, in 2019, UNODC reached out to United Nations Department of Crime, and Justice, I think Justice or something, and they were working with the children, the Department of Children, so the correctional. So I was working with the Kirigiti Girls Center and Dagoretti. So now they are doing a program where we donated a machine to mentor the girls through fashion, because there are those who really wanted to work, and before they graduate or they go to the next step, they need to learn something, they need to do something. Even if you get a machine, be a tape, start from somewhere. So we started mentoring these girls for both Kirigiti and Dagoretti. And the best part about it, every single design, I sat with those girls to design. Even the design process of how can you come up with this, what kind of skirt, what do you see yourself in? What kind of design will make you feel comfortable? And I can tell you for sure, it has gone so well because there was a fundraiser. We worked with a Spanish company, and all the designs, we featured them in Madrid in 2020, just before COVID. Of course, because of COVID, the girls could not travel and the teachers could not travel. It was a whole, everything, one phone call changed everything, and just found ourselves as designers there, because I worked with a couple of my friends as well. So this is a program that I think is ongoing. Of course, I'm not part of it anymore, but I'm happy that I'm the pioneer designer who started this and worked with them, because it has changed a lot, because now the girls have been zoomed on in regards to fashion and what they want to do. And I'm happy. I always keep in touch and see what they're doing, and it's something that is amazing. And it's a journey that I'm proud of. Of course, for music, I've been nurturing boys ever since, because I grew up. I have young boys who are still singing up to now, and my work is to make sure they make it. Not only that, I am very proud to tell you that we have over 10 boys who have settled in the US working, because of the connects we've had through the tours and everything. And those who aspire to travel, we have one of the best operatic singer called Lawrence Baraza, now in the US. Of course, through just the travels and everything, and we support them, and they support us, and they mentor more boys. For me, it's all about being selfless. For me, it's about what can I do to improve someone else's life, because I know I improve. If someone else's life improves, I improve as well, because that's the only way. And of course, seeing all of you here, today I'm just here, I just want to be a sponge. I just want to listen and learn. What can I pick? What can I add value? Of course, I've seen the Nyatiti out there. Of course, my teacher, Mr. Nyamungu, passed on. May God rest his soul. And it's one of my passions, actually. I used to play the Nyatiti for a while.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it's something that I'm proud of. Art is who I am, and I usually tell them art is everything, from fashion to paintings to photography to styling. There's just so much, because art is a reflection of what somebody, what your eyes is a reflection of what you see. So for me, I'm really, really happy. Thank you so much, Wani, for making this happen. I know we spoke on Zoom. The last time I saw you was in 2018. 2017, I believe. And it's good to see you after this. Of course, COVID happened, but I'm happy to see all of us are here alive, healthy. And I know I'm just glad I know from this time onward we can work together. Let's exchange, let's see what can we do together and improve one another, because that's the only way we are going to be a strong entity. In the book I just wrote Ubuntu because that's everything. I am because we all are. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. And as Henry mentioned, moving cultures is about interdisciplinary activities. It's about everyone doing everything from their space of expertise. Because you are all experts on your own right, but together we become one force. And talking about photographers and talking about tourism. So we have two members who are in the house. We're going to start with you, Immaculate, then you can come forward very quickly to talk about your journey, and then we're going to have you ladies. Okay? Thank you.
Hi guys.
Hi.
I didn't know I was going to speak.
That's whining for you.
Yeah. I'm sorry I was late, one, because I had to go to work earlier today. But all in all, thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for always bringing people together. When I got your message, I was like, yeah, I will go. Anyway, my name is Immaculate Jacobin. I'm a lifestyle photographer based here in Nairobi. I've won a couple of awards as well with Wikipedia, and I have a website at Immaculate with an E, ImmaculateJacobin.com. You can just check me out, even on Instagram and Facebook as well. So when I decided to start photography, that was so personal, because I wanted to do, what is it called? I wanted to be in media, so I studied film and TV production, but I ended up doing photography instead. That was just a unit in my course. So how did I end up doing photography? When it was in 2012, my mom got, I'll call it depressed or mental breakdown, and then she burned everything down, including our childhood photos. So I was like, I don't have anything to look at. Then my interest started growing in photography. When now the unit was photography, when I got a photography unit in my class, I decided to, because at first I was interested, so I wanted to learn. Then I picked up on YouTube, and that's how I ended up being a photographer. And yeah, that's just a bit of how I started.
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Immaculate was also one of the beneficiaries of an exchange of knowledge we have with a professional photographer from Panama, who came here to give them instructions and also train them on fashion and style. Yeah, so that was also a good job, you did over there. So ladies, please welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Well, I came in late. I didn't know I was going to speak as well. It's good to be here, and nice to see most of you from 2015 or 16.
Yeah.
My name is Amos Lele. I'm a tours and travel consultant. I started off as a tour guide, helping people get through Nairobi to understand the culture of the city, the history of the city, how the city came to be. And from there we grew then to do safaris around the country to showcase the beautiful image of our country, because we have different images out there. There's a different story we can tell about our country. So that's why we are doing in line of tourism. So I run a tours and travel company. It's great to be here to interact with all of you. And hopefully we share our cultures in different ways. And this is what all this is all about. We come together and we have that cultural exchange, which help us to appreciate each other better. and to live a better life. So thank you so much, and thank you, Wani, for this invitation. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you also. Now we are having our next guest. She is a journalist, a storyteller, communication consultant, and much more. And her name is Rose Odengo.
Thank you, Rani. So around the room, I actually see a lot of phone calls and pending coffees that I'll ensure will be realized after this. As Wani said, I'm Rose Odengo. I'm just recalling the Zoom conversation I had with Wani. I am a communication consultant, to summarize the multiple things that I do, and I'm the founder of Sigana. Sigana is a communication and strategy organization. But I want us to play a little game before I continue with my little ramble. I'm going to say a couple of words, and I want you to shout out the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay? Ready? Yeah. All right. Nairobi.
Traffic.
Heat. Traffic.
Love.
Green city.
Sorry?
Green city.
Green city.
Love.
Love. Okay. Crazy. All right. Okay. Mount Kenya. Cold. Ice. Beautiful. Peak. Beautiful. Okay. All right. New York.
Lights.
Busy. Lights. Busy. Skyscrapers. Crowded. Sorry? Style. Okay. Broadway. Unsafe. All right. Unsafe. Okay. Lagos.
Construction. Oga.
Traffic. Construction. Oga. Scary. Noisy. Chaos. Witchcraft. Good God. Okay. Maybe I should stop this game now. So ideally what you tend to find that just based on a name, you naturally are wired to think about it in a certain way. Whether it's busy, beautiful, chaotic, green, or witchcraft. So ideally what I do in my communications, I'm very big on, I train organizations on how to communicate. Now my big overall goal in my life is to completely reshape the narrative of Africa. But I'm a big believer that in order to reshape the narrative of Africa, you don't do it by just putting kind of makeup on a pig that's kind of rolled in mud. Ideally what you want to do is to get people to believe in what they really are, the beauty that they really are, and to be able to communicate that beauty to the rest of the world. So communication is all about building and growing perception. So how I do that with organizations is I teach them how to communicate. But in order to teach them how to communicate, they need to also figure out what problem they're solving. So communication and building perception is really about understanding why am I here? The same way we're all in this room with various skill sets, we're all answering a question, why am I here? And for organizations, answering why am I here means what problem am I solving? And what value am I adding to my environment, to my country, to the world? So ideally, I guide organizations with strategy and communications to build those perceptions. And it's part of my 3 stages. I believe that in order to completely reshape the narrative of Africa, it's done, at least for Sigana, my company, in 3 ways. One is teaching organizations how to communicate. Organizations and NGOs are the lifeline. They're the first frontier of how the world engages with our countries. The second thing I do is to propel the brilliant voices and innovators of the continent on a global stage. And the first step to do that is to brand people. We have a lot of brilliant innovators, we have a lot of executives, but in most cases have no idea how to sell themselves. So what we do at Sigana is we help them brand and package themselves and connect them to global networks to propel them to a global stage. Because the reality is we live in a world where even though we're in continents and even though we're connected by the internet like right now, we don't really interact. The understanding, you still have people around the world who think Africa is a monolith. But if people are to actually look around this room, this is literally a face of Africa. This is a genuine face of Africa. Different faces, different accents, different outfits. We're not a monolith. So when you have more brilliant innovators, the best of the continent, being propelled and able to tell the narrative on a global stage, that starts to change the narrative of Africa. So you no longer see us as people who need handouts, but people to grow partnerships to transform the world we exist in. Now the last stage is production. So my company, Sigana, we're very big on productions. We started off with a podcast, 2018, 2019, then, like the story of every other person on the planet, COVID happened. That kind of threw things off. So Sigana is in the process of restarting a new podcast, and I kind of see some new people featured in that podcast here today. Ideally, in everything that I've done, and if I can rewind and go back to when I met Wani, the reason why I'm laughing is, in 2015 when I met Wani, I was, how many years in? I was 4 years into a consultancy. I quit full-time employment. I was working in mainstream Kenyan media. I wanted to be a journalist. I had been frustrated, and I was told I cannot move from being a radio copywriter. I was working in advertising in the station. I could not become a TV journalist, so that upset me. I quit and I said I'm going to be a journalist anyway. And with that, I reported and wrote quite a number of news articles and reported for various American publications. I had a couple of articles in United Press International, wrote articles with the Global Press Journal, had articles as well in the Guardian newspaper in the UK, and a couple of East African publications as well. But then I started to realize that, okay, this is great, I want to transform the world, but my bottom line is just not being met. So I got back into copywriting, and then PR became a thing. So a mutual friend of ours, shout out to Reshma Khan, Reshma introduced me to Wani, and Moving Cultures was getting its feet on the ground in Kenya. They needed help with PR. I was relatively new to it, and to be honest, I found Wani painfully idealistic at the time. Unity and diversity, what does that even mean? Because I was just coming from a point of anger and frustration. And through working with Wani and just being reintroduced to what Nairobi looks like, the different faces, the different races, the different cultures, the food, the events, the initiatives, the partnerships, my eyes were completely opened to the power of that level of unity and the kind of the power of the diversity and how that diversity can be honed to actually bring unity. And through that, Wani also threw me into skill sets I knew at the back of my mind that I had the capacity for, but I was petrified by. So the same way everyone's here talking about, I didn't know I was going to talk, that is Wani 101. If you didn't know, now you know. Yes, Wani throws you into the deep end. One day I was depressed, went to Wani and I said I need a mentor, and then she unleashed her book and said, you have this event, this is what I need you to do, but that's not the question I asked you to do. I would like you to mentor me, but she's just like, just get the work done. That's literally how Wani works. It's not, there's no time for a pity party. There's a problem that needs to be fixed. I'm helping you fix it. You may not realize it right now, but you will. So I found myself doing a lot of emceeing work, and it kick-started my emceeing work across the city, thanks to Wani. One of many brilliant things Wani's been able to bring out to me. One hugest takeaway that I have learned through Wani and through Moving Cultures is that most of us all seem to be meeting Wani at the same point in our lives. What are we going to do with ourselves? That's literally the state we're mostly in. And just by a nice, simple brush or nudge or introduction, your life is transformed constantly. And that, for me, is the power of connection. Is to realize that you're human as I am, and at times you just need to get out of your own head and out of your own space to be able to be propelled into the space that you need to be. Who I am today, running a communications firm, confidently standing in front of you, not having butterflies in my stomach, is something that I innately had the capacity for. But because I was not in a space before I met Wani that could actually hone that, I was stuck. So being here today and hearing everyone's amazing stories just makes me realize how privileged I am to be part of this community. So thank you all. And if you do need any help in learning how, one, you want to build a brand as an executive, as an African innovator, if you would like to build your strategy and communications for your organization, your non-profit or your for-profit organization, give me a call. Rosa Dengo on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Joanne.
Thank you, Rose. And now we have some cultural acts taking place with us today, but before we move to the spoken poetry, and also to my dear friend Kake Wakake, who is actually going to close this conversation. He's going to be, of course, blessing the activity with the Nyatiti. I know he has some friends in the house who are from the Caribbean. I don't know exactly where in the Caribbean are you from? Okay, fantastic. And it's also another blessing because I come from the Garifuna people who actually is original from St. Vincent. So I'm also a daughter of the Caribbean, and I'm so happy that you are here blessing us also with your presence. And it happens that April is the month of the Garifuna heritage. And thank you, because your community is the one who gave us the opportunity to exist. If it's not for that reason, Garifuna people I will not be here. So I'm going to bring to the house and to the table our dear friend Moses. We were talking about the Nest and the prison program women. He is the administrator in Limuru. Please, Moses.
Okay, I salute everyone. Good afternoon. Hi. So I am Moses Omwange, a teacher by profession, and I have worked as a teacher before. Afterwards, I moved to social projects, and right now, as I speak, I'm back again to teaching. So teacher, social teacher. So right now, maybe Wani has not known, but I am a teacher in one of the high schools in Kenya because I moved from the Nest. So I teach geography and Kiswahili in high school. Wow. So if you want to know Kiswahili, here is a Kiswahili man. Thank you. So I can speak a bit about the Nest project. So the Nest project was founded in Kenya back in the year 1996. This was by one of the ladies from Germany who is a social worker by profession. She's called Irene Baumgartner. So she began it as a prison project. Why? Because she worked as a social worker in Kenya for a few years and realized that most of the children who come to the street is because their parents are serving a jail term. So instead of waiting for these children to come to the streets and then collect them from there to take them for rehabilitation, why not create a home where once the parents are gone to the prison, then the children can be taken care of as soon as possible. And thereafter, after the prison term, the children can be returned to their parents. Now, mainly, these are the single mothers. There's a big challenge when there is only one parent taking care of the child and then happens to go to prison. So where are the children going to go? And really, this happens in the urban centers. We have the urban poor, and most of you have already seen that. Most of you are working in the projects that are serving the urban poor. So you realize that as a single parent, you have gone to prison. Where are your children going to go? Because the relatives are not here. The rest of the other family members are not here in town. So this is where the Nest, the children's program, or the Nest prison program comes handy. So the Nest has 3 places, or 3 areas one is for the bigger children, that's in Limuru, from the age of 2 years onwards, until we even have some who are over 18. Then there is another place here in Runda, it's also the next project. So we have little babies, very little babies, babies of the imprisoned mothers who would not have gone to the prison with these babies, or babies who were found, thrown by mothers who didn't want them, or babies who have been offered for adoption. These are those mothers who were challenged and they had to offer these babies in case somebody would adopt them. And then we also have the prison, the mothers from prison. Once they come from prison, they have to be housed somewhere so that they can be held to think which direction to take. So this is where also the nest comes handy. So we have the Nest Babies Project, Nest Children's Home in Limuru. We also have the Nest Halfway House for the mothers who have just come from prison. But as projects are, they grow inside. You know, as you keep on taking care of the target group, you also find other groups coming in. That's why if you go to the Nest Halfway, I was there on Thursday, I went to visit them when I came to Nairobi. I found that we have teenagers, teenage mothers. Yes, these are mothers who found themselves into a situation of pregnancy, and it was nice that they found somewhere to come and take refuge. So as long as they are expectant, so they will be at the next project, they will be taken care of, and once they deliver, as young as they are, they might decide to offer the baby for adoption, or the family members can be sought for, and then they take the baby and also take care of this teenage mother. So I had a very big experience, actually I must say, in the social project. Yes, and this is also helping me to grow into the school situation again as I get back, because you get to understand more the children, the circumstances that they have grown in, having come from the social project. So it is really helping me. And our friend Wani is wonderful. Wani is wonderful. I remember before meeting Wani, I was a bit, you know, when the ice is in Africa. But when he came slowly, step by step, he brought me out of the cocoon. I was able to speak in the public boldly as I speak like this. Before, you wouldn't even get hold of me as I've entered this way and you give me a microphone. Before I met one, no, that wouldn't happen. I needed more time. But one is like, let's go, let's keep moving. Whatever that comes your way, let's go ahead. A meeting like this one, I thought is such a big meeting, it's such a huge thing that you can, but for one just said, we shall have a meeting over there, we shall be talking, we shall be sharing knowledge and experiences. Now enter there. You are all experienced people, professionals, you are meeting them, you are talking in a relaxed manner. At the end of it all, you can't walk out of a workshop or a meeting that one has arranged when you have not earned something. Yeah. So Wani is a wonderful fellow. I always remember you, and you've given me tactics of being able to stand in front of people, of being able to approach each and every person, no matter where they come from, because it's unity in diversity. So, I thank you. I can't forget to thank Roland, who is a very humble partner of Wani. And let me say that, Roland, I've picked some of your virtues to be able to have them in my family. So, this is a great couple. Otherwise, I don't want to take much time. I thank you for listening to me and being able to share the knowledge and the experiences. Thank you.
And if you see how the conversation started to get linked, and I was going to actually now start the introduction of the experts on development who are in the house. And that has to do with Roland. And I think I'm going to first start with him, so he can introduce himself, and then he can introduce his colleagues and former colleagues.
Thank you very much. What is the standard phrase? I was not expected to speak. But as we already heard, if one says you have to speak, there is no way around it. So really a pleasure to meet all of you, many of you again, see all the faces again. You can't imagine how excited we are after 2 years not meeting with people, now being back in Kenya, which is like coming back to France. It's a beautiful country, beautiful culture, beautiful people. So it's really wonderful to see all of you around. And I'm so happy that this meeting can take place, because it stimulates so many memories and so many good things that have happened over the years we have spent here in this country. And we see and hear how they have grown. It's like putting seedlings in the ground, and when you come back after a couple of years, well, there's a bush or a tree and the fruits are emerging. And that's really beautiful, so wonderful. Thank you so much for all the contributions we've heard. As Wani said, I would like to introduce a few colleagues of mine, some ex-colleagues, some current colleagues who work in the development sector. As you may know, my career has been with child development. I've worked for children's organizations for now over 20 years. First Plan International, and there we have my colleague here, Deputy Regional Director for Northern Africa, is that called now, right? Charles Mckelvey. Charles, want to say a few words quickly?
Wani said so.
I don't know how to continue this culture, but I really appreciate the fact that I was invited here. As Roland said, I work for a children organization focusing on children's rights and equality for girls. And I have been traveling. I actually cover the Middle East as well, and I have been witnessing the actual reality of children caught in vulnerability that they did not create. And that is the situation when we sleep every other day we think about, because the realities in all those situations and contexts where children are caught in the situation of war, in the situation of famine, in the situation of, they have so many vulnerabilities that have not enabled them to realize their potential. And our role with Roland has been to make a simple contribution when we can, to support with other stakeholders where we can, so that we can give them hope for the future. Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Charles. Let me continue, because a former regional director with Plan, when we actually came to Africa, was Luther. Luther Andukur was instrumental when we came to this country, and I started my work in a new environment, a new office with new people. He was my deputy back then, but since he has moved on, he's working with the International Union of Conservation. Luther, please say a few words about that work you're doing right now.
Thank you so much, Ronald. It's great to be here, and thanks so much, Wani, for putting this together. I was invited to this event a few days ago. It was great to have Ronald and Wani back to Nairobi. So Ronald is, I don't know how to describe him, but he's a boss for my family, because he was my boss 4 years ago, or 5 years, about 7 years now ago. And he's the boss for my wife now, so yeah, so anyway, it's such an interesting coincidence. But I worked for now I work for nature conservation. So I work for the International Union for Conservation of Nature. I think in all of this, the stories this afternoon have been really, really very captivating because it's all about stories of transformation, how people are changing and their life journeys, and I think it's all very exciting. It's a story of hope. I think we live in a world where there is a lot going on that causes a lot of desperation and hopelessness and a lot of inequality and a lot of divide. But the stories today we are hearing are really stories of hope, stories of we can do it, stories of personal transformation right from an individual going on to extend to others. And I think this is really quite exciting. And thanks so much, Wani, for these great stories. I wonder where was I all these days? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Luther, and you gave away already my next point. And the story moved on. We moved out of Nairobi. I became regional director in Asia for a new organization called Child Fund International. And as they found after a while Asia is not big enough for me, they said you also have to take on countries in Africa. And that brought me back, and I'm also responsible for the operations in Kenya and in Mozambique. And one of the first tasks I had to do in this role was to hire a new country director for Kenya. And so we interviewed candidates, and as it was in the middle of the pandemics, everything was online and via video. And we settled kind of on a lady we found is quite capable, good experience, and she has a good personality, and we thought she could be a good director for us. And then I said at the end of the interview, I said, your surname, Anukur, that sounds familiar to me. By any chance do you know Luther Anukur, who was a former colleague of mine? I said, yeah, that's my husband. So, small world, and that's how Alice came into the picture, and she's now the country director for Child Fund here in Kenya. And Alice, please give us a few words on your work.
Thank you, Roland. So my boss, when he says it, will I say no? But really, the more reason I came is because of one thing. He came to visit the country program, and we spent a week together talking about program models and sustainability. But being accompanied by his wife, everywhere we went to Kisumu, went to Emali, went to different places. Each minute you gave Wani a microphone to talk, she just gets connected to everyone and leaves people with energy, inspired and motivated to do more what they are doing. So thank you, Roland, for introducing me to Wani, to introduce me to the other side of your life. I'm really honored to know my boss better this week, holistically, in that he's not just in this business for a salary. I really see that you're living a life of touching lives, especially the lives of children, looking at your connections, looking at your association, your family. And you know, we were launching a strategy yesterday for Kenya, which is connected to the global strategy of Child Fund. And that strategy is called Growing Connections. You've helped me grow more connections. And I see many people here, like someone said, more phone calls are going to come, more coffees are going to come, because then you're going to be some of the people that are going to help us reach 1 million children and their families to ensure that the deprived, excluded, and vulnerable children are able to grow up healthy, educated, skilled, and safe. It's really all about unity in diversity for a great cause. So thank you, Wani, for organizing this and for inviting us.
Thank you so much. And as we mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, this is an activity where our hearts, our souls, and our minds connect. Yeah? And it is happening. It is when you go into the room, you strip yourself of your ego. Because we're not coming here to show off. Because we're not here because we want people to recognize us. You know, we are in this room because we want to celebrate life. isn't it? We are celebrating that beside the difficulties we went through 2 years ago, we are here, yeah, and we still have love for humanity, you know? And we have gone from, and I always say this to people when I work from myself as a performer, as a professional. I can do it by myself. But then, that doesn't make much for me. I need the second person, the third person, then with 5, with 10, with 100, with millions. And in this room, we have thousands, close to millions of people being impacted. If we put together the numbers of Plan International, the numbers of Conservation Nature, the numbers of Child Fund, the numbers of your projects, you know, we create that spiral that has to come from civil society. It has to come from us, from each one of us doing changes at home, with our kids, with our husbands, with our neighbors, with our community, and then we continue moving on the circles, you know, because you cannot come and change people's life if your house is a mess. Tell me about it, isn't it? You know, and this is like it's one of the things that actually motivate me to do this kind of job. When I hear somebody preaching transformation and success, and I talk to success about self-realization, I don't talk to success about financial capacity. And you hear people talking about success. And then when you hear the stories about that person, and then you say, how can this person is telling me how to be better, right? When the story behind that person doesn't really project the reality. Let's work from home. Let's work on ourselves. Let's work on our instruction, you know, to be always to preach by example. And to do that, let me introduce, I think I'm going to start with my dear Rebian. You know, she's a spoken poetry artist, to actually connect our creativity to the message we are delivering. Rebian, nice to meet you. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is my first time being here and meeting Wani. I came as a supporter to my partner. I'm a performing artist. I do poetry. And I came to support my partner who's also an artist. And I think I'll perform because it's Wani. I was just pulled like aside and I was asked like, can your partner perform? Like, what does she do? And can she present that? And yeah, you just can't say no to beautiful humans. So please allow me to read. I didn't know how to perform. Also, allow me to greet you in my language. When I say unkare, you say wankare. Unkare. Unkare. That means, are you good? We good. It's dolu. I use my art for activism because I'm an activist too. I use my art to bring positive social change, and I speak on matters, women, police brutality, and most of my pieces are in English, Swahili, and Shem, depending on the audience. Because again, if you have to communicate, you have to make sure that people who are listening to you are getting what you're saying. And now to my piece. According to scientists, the ozone layer has dropped by 4% since 1970s, and it has been dropping faster for the past 30 years. According to UN, the average number of humans exposed to heat waves has increased by approximately 125 million since the beginning of the century. According to capitalism, we need more fossil fuel, more electricity, so burn the coal. For goodness sake, we need more food with the least time to waste, so more greenhouses, please. Who cares how much CO2 is released into the atmosphere? Who cares how much soil pollution we have to do to achieve it? Who even need trees when farmers need more space for farming? Yes, humans need urban infrastructure developments to sell timber and palm oil. We need better forms. So let's keep mining. Capitalism, extracting and polluting, hunting animals and creating endangered species. The world is burning. The world is burning and the people responsible are shooting themselves off to space. The world is burning literally. The ocean bursts into flames. Floods, earthquakes, heat waves. Earth doesn't want us here anymore. We have abused our stay. The world is burning, but we're worried about the stock market. Our being here is not special. It is not out of the norm. It is a privilege that we have abused. We need policies to be practiced, not just movements to protect the earth. I'll repeat that. We need policies to be practiced, not just movements to protect the earth, for the earth doesn't need us to protect it. It needs us to respect it. Right? The world doesn't need us to protect it, it needs us to respect it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabia, for reminding us what is important.
Yeah,
thank you. So now we're going to welcome Sisi Babu, who is one of our former volunteer therapists. She's a doctor, medical doctor. She's an oncologist. But now she's going to tell you why she decided to go into another direction.
You don't set me up like that. Life was like I have a lot of explaining to do. When I met Wani, I was 19 going 20, and I was still a doctor. I think I was in 5th year. I was just finishing, yeah. Then the next year, I had Wani used to do this thing. I love food a lot. If you tell me there is food, even this Saturday, she told me there will be food. And I was like, okay, I'm in. I love food so much. And so, Wani created a connection with me that we'd hang out and she'd buy me food. So I would just show up, where there's food, and I show up, and I eat, and then we talk. So I was telling her of this one dream I had of wanting. At that time, I'd already started dancing here. This used to be like my office. She would tell the guys to just let me dance here. And so here in Faraja, and I wanted to do something for cancer. Being an oncologist, I realized that I'm an artist too, but there was so much I wanted to say that I couldn't say as a doctor. There was so much. And when I would talk to Wani and tell her, I felt so inadequate as a cancer doctor because most of the time I was just treating people. I didn't care what's happening with their mental health or anything. I would just treat them and send them home. And then the next time I'm meeting them, it's depression vibe. Come for your chemotherapy. Tomorrow come for your radiotherapy because I need to do this. And so when I told her I wanted to create a story, I have a friend called Goots. His mother had cancer. May her soul rest in peace. She passed on in 2020 and she recovered and no one in her family knew she had cancer. She went through that entire thing. And by the time she recovered is when she told them. And he told me that, what can we do about it? And so when I talked to Wani, I was telling Wani all about this. And then she asked me, but you're an artist, you can do something about it. I'm like, what? I'm new in Nairobi. What would I do about it? So we created a show called I Am Cancer, which was retelling the story of Goog's mom. At that time she was still alive. We were so happy she was there. And she was so happy to share with us her story. And raising funds for Faraja at the same time. What amazed me is everyone thought that at that time my accent was more weird than this, so it's like we were related. So Wani paid for the venue that we were going to have the show. And she paid on Friday. After I told those guys, I don't have money, I swear I don't have money. And then she showed up and paid. And everyone was like, you lied. She sent someone. And for me, I think that's where my relationship with Wani began.
And last year when I was going through such a hard time, I'm an activist and the world has been burning for a while. The world has been burning. And last year it was so bad on my mental health. I remember one asked me, but you're an artist, what can you do about it? And one of the most important things to me, and this I think has been, in the last 5 years I've been tracing my lineage and my ancestors and knowing that there's something that stuck with me when we have these numerous calls and messages on Messenger. I was reading at that time and someone said, if you're here, then there is proof that people like you have been here, because we know the universe has been very selective about people who get to survive. So if you survived, it means someone like you has been here, the universe was like, cool peeps, you can stay, and then you got here. So that really made me want to understand my lineage, people like me, what that means, and my identities intersect in a way that I've been erased so much. People like me have been erased from history, and that goes down to how I wanted to live my life and how I live it now. It really changed how I walked through life. And the piece I'm going to read comes from after years and years, which is so wild that in 2018 is when I got serious with that journey. I think after my dad died, I had not known him. So when he died and the entire emotion of I didn't know him and now he's dead, now there's no chance. There's no way of ever knowing him. And the only thing you can do is trace it. That got me to start this journey, and the piece I'm going to read is called Wildest Dream. I don't know, do I say my project now or read my piece and say my project? Okay. So, in that journey, I was tracing the history of Black queer people who've been here. First, out of existing in a very, living in Kenya is a very homophobic and transphobic country, and knowing that I always wanted to know if there were people like me all through my growing up. The heartbreak, the constant heartbreak of thinking that there must be something wrong with you, there must be something you did and you're being punished for it, and growing in a very, very religious space, really, I think it destroyed me to a space. And so with my partner, I think I trapped her because I told her, come and see One at last. And one with the surprises, come and perform. When we got together and we talk about it, and I would tell her, do you know, we always looked for people like us. There was, how many Black people do you know, Black trans people, Black queer women, do you know that you get to see who are older and all that? And we didn't have that. We didn't have it. And we decided to create that for ourselves. And so when we created the space, it was just a space to share the knowledge we have, our experiences, our everyday lived experience, because no matter the expertise, you don't beat the lived experience. And when we got to it last year and applied for this training, we got picked and we were like, for real? We're going for this training. And after that, we did our first project, which was Pride SRHR. It was just talking about sexual and reproductive health rights for queer people, and specifically living in Kenya, and doing interviews and talking to people. And I think during that time is when I was able to, when we finished with the classes and we did the first part of that project, it found when I'd been recording and having conversations just around Kenya with queer people, meeting queer people who are at 62, 65, when I thought that they fade off at some point. So meeting a 70-year-old lesbian woman who's been with their partner since I think in their 20s, and mind is blown because I'm like, in Kenya, where have you guys been? And so when talking to those people and realizing the struggle they've gone through, I started creating an event, and it's called The North Remembers, that we may never forget that we've been here. We might have been erased, we might have been told every bigoted thing I've heard in my life as a trans queer person, everything. But we've been here, and no amount of shaming or being told we don't deserve to be here can erase the fact that my ancestors walked this earth and they were here. And that still ties to the piece that I'm going to read, and in recognition of the people in whose blood, sweat, and tears we thrive. And in recognition of even the land we are on right now. This is the blood, sweat, and tears of Kenyans who are of Indian descent. So we have to really pay homage to all the people who've gone before us, because we didn't get here by accident. It's not by us wanting so badly to be here. It's because there was someone who fought before we got here. So the North remembers, and may we never forget. The piece I'm going to read is called Wildest Dream. I am the wind, the air, water and the very ground that holds them true. I am tsunami and a tornado at war, sweeping and cleaning. I am my people's eyes, skin and bones dripping in the dreams only they saw. I am the feet of all the rain women, dancing, marching because I can. My chefs lined up as a blessing to this journey. I am my mother's brilliant soul. I am my grandmother's beautiful heart and wild spirit, the very defined moment when they first said no and pushed back, when they refused to break their backs and left the kitchen pots, the moment they first recognized their humanity and went for it. I am the poet's pen, spitting and moving, furious and carving, building and breaking, the single belief that I own this. I am my great-grandmother's silent prayer. Her harsh ambitions, roaring, humming, serenading, her songs, the gentle reminder of why I'm still here, the theme to my fights, how I've defied the odds, guided by her steps. I am my ancestors' war cry, refusing to be drowned by the oceans, knowing that I'm here in ways they were never allowed to be. I am the underground railroads and pocket knives. I am the fight for justice, the only one who dared to walk away, the ones who broke the backs of their oppressors, the one who made the women who fought back. I am defying every moment in history, hair locked in rebellion. I'm not moving. I'm the hands that molded history. I'm not moving. The face of defiance. I'm not moving. The life that fought and reigned. I'm not moving. I'm the life that stood tall, the one that broke doors to rooms I was never allowed into, the one who shook tables that delayed my agency, the one my ancestors counted on, but you didn't see coming. I'm the one I've always waited for. Thank you.
Thank you, Sisi Sabu. And well, this is the end of our exchange of knowledge, and we're going to welcome Kake Wakake, who is our guest with the ancestry and with the energy to leave this place blessed. So, welcome Kake. Do you want to please start with the story?
Hi everyone. Hi. My name is Kake, as you said. I'm Kake Wakake and I'm a Nyatiti player. As you can see, it is called Nyatiti Buluo. So my Nyatiti, I'm going to do it. There's so many ways of playing Nyatiti nowadays, but for me, I'm like still strictly deep into the roots. So just sit down on my low stool, and I have my footbells with me. In Doluo we call them gara. Say gara. Gara. These are the percussion. Then I have a metal ring. This is a odongo. It will act as a kick to hit the frame of the instrument while I'm playing. So this nyatiti is an 8-stringed instrument. And it is something that if you're from Ugenya or Siaya or any part of Luo Nyanza, I'm sure you're familiar with this instrument. But again, we have so many Nyatiti players. Some are still alive, some have left. And there are some who, before they left, they are taking the instrument to the international level. So we have like Ayub Ogada, he left us. We have Mzee Nyamungu, we have Okono Kokot, we have my late uncle, Owino Sanda Ulawi, we have my grandfather, Otulo Jamasat, also used to play, and they all left. But since they left us with the vibe and the spirits, so we are still continuing the spirits and the vibes of our ancestors to keep it alive. Because they also found it, and they played, and also left, so now we are playing. So today I'm going to do 2 or 3 songs with my Nyatiti, and I'll be singing in Dolu to grace the occasion today. Maybe after the song I'll be explaining the meaning of the song. Thank you very much.
I have to sit down like this. Is there need back there at all? Yeah, I hold it. That is called Leo Tum.
Leo Tum is like a sound check.
So the first song I'm going to do is called Most Mama. It is a composition I did during the pandemic because my mom, she's back based here, and me, I'm based in Nairobi. She was very worried about me because so many information, and you know in the village you say radio mocha bokwom, like there's radio which has eaten ugali. That's human beings. Everybody is coming with his or her own information about how people are struggling in Nairobi. So she was calling to find out how I'm doing every now and then. And one day I just decided to compose this song which says, "It's okay, Mom, I'm trying my best to keep safe." Mama jojo gochona, mama na jojo gochona, nono kakate mira kabango, ante na ninte, kabango tema, karanya kwa eridende, ulo bende temo, mama bende doka, teni doke kadala. Inyalo puro dalo, inyalo di motona, inyalo kora puyo, inyalo di mono, inyalo di gedo, tenido kadala. Then I took a bus, I went back home. I was telling the driver, do kadala wa, yariambo do kadala wa. Anani Yogadala, Anajidala, Yogadala, Okatino Manu, and Yogadala. Yogadala, Anani, Sakani Pekomane, Mama Dala, Yokane Abeka. Kadala, Kadala, Kadala,
like to go that side to do the group photo to close the activity. Rosa, I give you the banner so we can put it in front. Yeah. And thank you so much to everybody for this opportunity to celebrate unity in diversity. You know, it's so great to see so much power in the house, because that's the only way we can call it. A lot of power in the house, creatives, educators, development experts, humanity. Kathy, you stay in the middle. We're going to read.
And then move back behind, please. The bigger one. Yes. Exchange with your colleague. Yes, exactly. Yes, that's a good idea. Whoever wants to see the front. Great. Good. Okay, guys, there's so many. Okay. Ready? Make chapati. Chapati. What's the like of chapati? Chapati. Chapati. Yes, very good.
Can everyone look here? Okay. Now let's make it fun, except for the ones holding the banner and of course the Natiti player. Everyone put your hands up. Yeah! Everyone say one.
Chapati. Again, 1, 2, 3, chapati. Chapati.